Are you ready to step into your power in 2026? Well, if so, this episode's for you.
Hi, I am Dr. Eleni Boosalis.
And I'm Andrada Florescu.
And we are both holistic psychologists and therapists at Delray Psych and Wellness. And today we're going to talk about how you are giving away your power. Today we have a special guest, Andrada Florescu, who is a transformational expert, a licensed professional counselor, and a therapist here at our practice in Alexandria, Virginia. So welcome.
Thank you. And I want to invite you guys to get comfortable, grab a drink, and join us today to talk about getting back your power.
Yeah. So what are we drinking today?
So today we're drinking kombucha, which supports the gut microbiome. And I don't know about you, Eleni, but I've been hearing a lot of talk and also the work I do on myself on kind of connecting with your gut, right? So this is a way to start from the inside out and really dive into that intuition and that connection with our bodies.
Yeah, we talk a lot about our gut and what the gut is saying to you and not following it, or, that's where your truth and your power lies, here in your power center. So that was a good choice. Andrada brought this in. So we're going to nurture our gut today while we sip on our kombucha.
Yeah. And it's interesting how, right, like if you think about our intuition, in a split second, based on your past experiences, you make that quick decision, right? And we all know what happens when you don't listen to it.
Yes.
So
that's right. So for 2026, we thought a really great topic would be, how are you giving away your power? And, what choices are you making every day that are taking your power or giving your power? How can we become more conscious about this? So there's a lot to unpack. So we're trying to figure out a way, not just to explain this, but also to give you some techniques that you can take away with you by the end of this podcast that are very practical. So one of the things that we were talking about as we're preparing for this was how your beliefs and your personality are impacting your choices, and how those come from our life experiences, our memories, and how these get like fixed in your body. And it's interesting. I know we've all heard these like different statistics about how we have anywhere between 50 and 90,000 thoughts per day, but that really very few of them are original thoughts. I think 90% of those thoughts are the same recycled thoughts every single day. So how is this impacting your life choices and how you feel about yourself?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I was also looking into this interesting research showing that like by age 35, about 90% of who you are is already set. So if you think about it, that's not much of a choice as you go throughout your day. It's like you're making the same choices and thinking the same thoughts and having the same feelings. And most of us want to change and have a different experience. So that gets you thinking about what can I do differently to get there?
Yeah, and because our subconscious, we're not aware of it. It's sort of like, I heard this analogy of the air conditioner playing in the background or going on in the background, and you don't really know it's there until it turns off, and then you realize it was going on loudly all along. So I think our subconscious programming is doing that all day long, and it's impacting how we feel, but we're not hearing it or listening to it.
You're right. And the other thing that comes to mind is that our brains are so efficient, right? That if you've learned something once, you don't want to relearn it. So like you're driving and then you're like, how did I get here? That like highway hypnosis. So unless something really, makes you question something, you're kind of going on autopilot.
That's right. Yeah. And Andrada also does hypnosis here. We talk about how people get into like the highway hypnosis is something we talk about because people are like, I don't get hypnotized. But really, we all are hypnotized. We're all in trance all day long. We're not aware of it, right? So how do we break that trance? But another concept, I think, as we were talking about this, that was important was the repetition compulsion. And people aren't aware that they are compulsively repeating the same pattern in their life over and over and over again. The compulsively meaning that we will unconsciously choose people and situations to continuously play out this feeling of powerlessness.
Yeah.
based on our childhood experiences in order to gain mastery over this experience. But the kicker is, because it's the same thing, you never gain mastery over it. You just continue to feel powerless.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of repeat the same emotional experience, but you never kind of go beyond it to see like, what can I do differently? Because that's where the real shift happens, when you have more options over what happened to you back then. But that makes me also think about like that cognitive dissonance, where you kind of, what you feel and what you know, they don't align. And I hear this, and for myself, I'm like, I rationally know I'm okay right now, but that in your body, you feel like, no, I'm in survival. And I was actually looking this up, that apparently the same areas in your brain that are, like when you're in physical pain, those areas in the brain light up, the same areas when how you feel and how you think are like incongruent, and the same areas light up. So that shows the amount of discomfort we're in those moments, right? It's like you are in physical pain when you're not aligned with yourself. And then from that place, you're supposed to make a different choice. Yeah. Which is so difficult.
Yeah. Congruence is so important. But people, the mind and the body don't match.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think another example, we get a lot, I think in therapy too, is where people say, I know I'm supposed to do this, work out, but I don't. Or I know I'm supposed to quit smoking, but I don't know why I don't do it. I know I'm not supposed to eat the third piece of cake, but I know, why can't I do it? So like that's repetition compulsion and unpacking here. Why is that? Why do we want the incongruence between the heart and the mind?
Yeah.
The mind is saying, I want this, but the heart is saying, I want that, or vice versa.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we get to a point in life where, what got you far in life, like, your rational mind, right? How you're thinking, how you're analyzing situations, it cannot get you any further. You can't think your way out of this thing. So then there's that moment where you're like, okay, so I have to do something different. I have to really be with how I'm feeling. And it can be unsettling for many people, right? To give up this certainty of, no, I know, and I can analyze and I can control, versus kind of letting go and really trusting. Yes, you're unsettling at the beginning.
That familiarity.
Yeah, giving that up.
Giving up the familiarity and the comfort, even if it's the comfort of the discomfort. Yeah. Right? Like, I know.
Like you want it.
Like the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know.
Exactly. And I know you always make that good point, Eleni, of like, can you explain that? Where like the pain of making that choice has to be...
Yeah. The discomfort of staying has to be higher than the discomfort of leaving, or vice versa.
Yeah. But that shows that most of us don't change when things are happy, right? Like when you're comfortable, like you need that distress in your life. And I always think like, can we actually change from a place of like, okay, I'm balanced. I don't need that crisis in my life. And maybe we can look at the new year the same way, right? Like, can you have control over when you change and how you change? Let's not wait for a crisis. Want to happen.
Although I think, what most experts and spiritual teachers will say is that most change comes from discomfort. Like you have to be in a state of discomfort, have some, difficulty in life. These challenging, difficult experiences are the ones that produce the biggest change for us if we don't resist them and if we explore them and allow them.
Then that's fair. And I'm also thinking, can you choose your discomfort, right? Can you be like, no, I accept this. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to sit with this. And I'm going to be curious about what's on the other side.
That's right. Yeah. And we were talking about, so we're talking about cognitive dissonance, repetition compulsion, how your life experiences create this, right? But where do those come from and how do you know what they are, right? Like if you are, let's say the cake example, that analogy, why am I doing this? And I think that some of it comes when we sit with our clients and then we identify what the belief is underneath there. There's usually a life experience and a belief of powerlessness or lack of safety, or something about yourself, like I don't deserve it, or I'm not good enough, or it's not safe to lose weight because that'll give me give me attention, or it's not safe to speak my truth because I might get punished, or it's not safe to move out because it's too scary. I was told I can't handle it. Like, what are these subconscious messages that we've been given our whole life?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And it makes me think on one hand that I guess thinking about those 50,000 thoughts we have, right? So some of them are really deep, like those beliefs. And that's where I always get thinking about how there's so much value in telling your story and being witnessed and being held. And then you get to these beliefs or these places where you're sick and tired. You've said them so many times. Every time you say them, you reaffirm them. And that's what I'm thinking. It makes me think about brainwaves.
Yeah.
Right? How we, in order to fix a problem, right, you need to get out of the problem. If you're still in that stress headspace, and I'm thinking beta and alpha. So what happens in our bodies actually has an electrical signature in our brains. So if you're anxious, we're in beta. High beta, you're super stressed. Medium beta, you're focused. In order to get out of that negative cycle, you need to drop a little bit lower, which is alpha, right, where you're open, you're creative, you're relaxed. So oftentimes telling your story might get you even more stuck. So instead is actually taking that pause and doing something different and then coming back and looking at that with fresh eyes.
Yeah. When you're thinking of that, you have to have a disconfirming experience that contradicts it. And that's one of the ways that therapy actually works is you're talking about this traumatic experience that is activating your nervous system and you're in beta, but then the safety of the office, the safety of that relationship brings you into like a theta state, a lower brainwave state where you're talking about this experience, but you're having a contradictory inner experience where you're safe doing it. Right. So that's one of the ways. But we were also talking about how we are so committed to our stories, how people are so committed to their identities. They're like, this is so common where you see people connecting over their ailments. You know, they're like, oh, my back. They're like, oh, well, yours isn't as bad as my head, my headache. Oh, well, yours isn't as bad as my orthopedic issues. You know, like we're so committed and attached to our story. Yeah. And there's secondary gains to our stories. They give us attention. They give us empathy, compassion, connection with other people. So think about that as well. Like, what are the secondary gains we have to being attached to our stories? For example, of being a victim. That's a big one.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it makes me think about, because right, we see this in the therapy space, but it makes me think even us, like even we are going through these transitions. And, I've been personally going through a separation, and it's been, at the beginning when I started this, it's so unsettling, right? Like bringing up all these things in me, feeling unsafe, feeling powerless. I don't have a voice. And I kept thinking, I need my environment to change. I need my partner to change. And only then will I be able to be okay with myself again. And it was actually this past summer, because I was like stuck in that place for months. And this past summer, I attended the meditation retreat. And then I realized that when I change, everything changes. Like I was the problem all along. And I know it in some way it can feel burdensome, but it was so relieving. I am the problem, so I have control over shifting that. And then going back to what you're saying about the victimhood, right? Like as I dug deeper in myself, realizing that I had an addiction to being a victim, to being small and powerless. And it was it's so hard to give that up because it reaffirms who you are and the choices you make and the people you see. So once you change your headspace, everything around you changes.
True.
But at the same time, it's so relieving because I realized I don't have to wait to feel better. I can show up differently in the same space, right? And I can be okay. I can start making the same changes I would do, months from now, right now. And what a relieving, empowering, space to be in.
That's like the ultimate example of giving away your power, because how many of us are looking outside for that thing to change, to give us control. Oh, if my partner changes, if my boss changes, oh, when the political landscape changes, oh, when whatever. That is all external. And what you're saying is that you were waiting for all of that. And then after that retreat, you realize, wait, I'm the one that has to change. And if you think about it, that one choice is what brings in empowerment. Again, taking back your power, the realization that, oh, wait, I can leave. I'm at a tree. Like I can get up and leave.
Yeah. I can make a different choice. I can say what's on my mind, right? And I'm not saying it's easy, right? Because going against that familiar neural pathway, right? What a journey that is. But also how rewarding when you're no longer going with that subconscious programming and you're like, no, I'm going to act differently. Yeah. Feels unfamiliar, but I know what's here for me. I've lived this for years, right? Can I just get curious about what's on the other side?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, we were talking about our stories and how we have, grown with these, these relationships.
Yeah.
And like I was in a relationship where, I was multiple relationships where I was like, I'm the victim, it's their fault. All men are jerks, and this story that you get so tired of. And then I think going back to the discomfort, it's almost like you have to hit this place sometimes where you're so uncomfortable to say, wait a minute, I'm the one that's choosing this. Like nobody's forcing me to stay here. How many thousands of people do you meet every day? How many situations do you come around every day? And you get to choose who you allow into your space. You get to choose what energy you put into. And whatever energy you put into is what's going to grow. And that is going to become your reality. So just stop saying, you don't understand. I don't have control. You don't understand. Like, yes, you do. You have control to make a choice.
Absolutely. Yeah. And can you become aware, right? If we're recognizing that 90% of your life is subconscious, can you just become aware, right? I'm often thinking, Eleni, how would you, if you knew that, let's say you wake up today and the feelings you have, the thoughts you have and how you act today is going to get you either closer or further away from your wildest dream. How would you show up? Like, I feel that energy rise in my body, right? How would you talk to that neighbor? How would you show up at work? How would you talk to that customer, right? You would probably be like enlightened, like inspired, full of loves, right? So can we become aware of our power? Because it's just that mental shift. It becomes real when you're aware of it. Because if you're not aware of it, then you're just living that subconscious life that you have.
That's right. And one of the ways to also identify when people say, I don't know what it is to just look at your pattern, right? It's all about patterns.
Yeah.
It's like if you constantly find yourself saying, oh, it's all their fault. Oh, I'm a victim, or men are mean, or whatever it is, that there's a pattern of powerlessness. Or the other one I see often is where people just are right there, right where they're about to get their life together. And then bam, they sabotage again, right? Which we're going to talk about sabotaging on the next episode. But it's like, what is that? Is it too scary to fathom that you could succeed? Is it not safe? Like, do you not believe you deserve it? Ask yourself all these questions. How true does this feel in your body? I deserve it. I am lovable. I have control. It's safe to speak my truth.
Yes.
How true does that feel? And if it doesn't feel true when you say that, there you are. That's where it is.
Yeah, and this what you're telling me is getting me very excited and makes me think about, and I know we're going to talk about mental rehearsal in a little bit, but like, can you go back to the drawing board, right? If you're right there, right, you've gone through like you're about to make that change and something happens, right? Can we go back and be aware, like where do I have to work a little bit harder? Where do I have to change how I feel about myself, right? And then I like to reframe it as it's not all or nothing. It's a continuous journey, right? We're just getting better each day, right? That presentation didn't turn out the way you wanted. Can we go back and rehearse it in your mind until it becomes reality, right? So you're in that situation, it just happens like that, right? It's all a continuous journey.
That's right. That's a great point. What you said, it's not all or nothing. The thing people want, the magic bullet, right? The magic pill, how come it's not happening? Because things don't happen overnight. Usually it's these incremental changes that are sometimes so small you don't notice them.
Absolutely.
But if you look back, it's kind of like, again, going back to the weight analogy, it's like you lose a pound, and then one day you wake up and it's 20. But when it's just one, you don't feel it. It's just like 1 pound. It's the same thing. Yeah. So what if we shift into, okay, so what can we do to begin to change? You talked about mental rehearsal. Like, what can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. Well, so and I think we've all heard it, like mental rehearsal. And, I know elite athletes and top performers, they've been doing this for decades, right? Where they kind of envision those situations before they're actually in them. But I'm thinking, and what I'm seeing with, us and our clients, what if us, like normal people, could benefit as much as they do, right? So it makes me think, and actually this is something it's super simple, Eleni, and you can maybe after our podcast, you can do it as well. But it makes me think about a simple exercise I do is like, I have a piece of paper and then I choose one topic, right? Let's say the relationship with my boss or what's happening with my partner, right? And then I'm thinking, currently, how am I feeling how am I thinking and how am I behaving? Can I list one of each, right? And then I draw the line, and then I'm thinking, this person who gets the promotion, who is madly in love and connected, right? How are they thinking, feeling, and behaving? And I can list one in each category. And the beauty about mental rehearsal is that the more you do it, the better you get at it, right? So each morning, can I look at my piece of paper and can I get clear on who do I no longer want to be, right? I already know how this person feels and thinks and acts, and can I start creating who I want to be, right? And have that intentionality, right? I'm waking up and I'm in charge of how today is going.
Thinking, acting, and feeling. And all of it. Holistic, going back to the holistic, thinking, acting, and feeling, not just thinking your way through.
There's no thinking your way.
No. It's like, how are you holding your body, your energy, your space, like just all of it. And you know what you're talking about with mental rehearsal, there's so much research on visualization. And I remember reading about this in Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. There's a part in there where he talks about the research about when you do mental rehearsal and visualization, that parts of your brain structurally change. It's not just that, oh, let's just do visualization and do a vision board. You know, I think that people don't realize that there is science behind this, in that if you imagine, like right now, if I imagine that I'm taking a sip of that kombucha, my brain is reacting as if I'm doing it. I just have to think about what it tastes like, feels like, and smells like, and my brain will react as if it's happening. And so imagine how we are all doing that in a negative way every day. Like, think about, well, if I say this and they're going to say that, and then they're going to think this, and then I'm going to be powerless again. Like, just think about how you can flip that into a positive, and then how your body and your reality will change when you're thinking, acting, and feeling as if it's already there.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying. I think the more intense the emotion, so the more we rehearse the worst case scenario, right, the closer you get to it, right? It's right there around the corner. And then it reaffirms your old identity and it feels familiar, right?
Yes.
So like the more, if we're trying to change that pattern, then the same, like, inspiration, excitement, that has to be a little bit louder, right? So can we get familiar with how does that taste like? How would that feel? How would that trip? How would that experience be like for me, right? And then your body's going to start responding to it. And then little do you know, right, when that comes to you, without you actually planning or making, because you changed. So you're more aligned with that.
And that's where, when we talked about neural pathways in the last podcast, there's a critical mass, right? So there's a critical mass where we talk about where I feel powerless. I have all these examples and memories of myself being powerless. And then there's this little tiny bit over here. I call them filing cabinets. It's a little filing cabinet over here where it doesn't have that much in it, where I am powerful and I'm not a victim. But when you keep putting in experiences and memories into that filing cabinet, there eventually is a critical mass where you have less over here and more over here. And then all of a sudden one day, it doesn't feel normal anymore to be a victim because there's not enough information in that filing cabinet, right?
Support that. Yeah. It makes me think also when we do EMDR, it makes me think like it's a string of lights, right? And the moment you have all these like lights that are not really working, and then you're starting to fix these other lights, and once you've done the work and you plug that in, and that neural pathway lights all the way through, right? And you're finally able to see the full story, right? That happened 20 years ago. That's no longer my reality. I can open the door and do whatever I want, right? What a powerful moment. And it starts with those small choices and changes every day that do matter.
Yeah. And I think one more thing going along with that is affirmations. And when I tell people to use affirmations, they're like, but it's not true. So for example, if I say I am powerful, but I don't feel powerful, I tell people to say I am in the process of. Or if people are trying to make a behavioral change, like going back to the, eating healthier or exercising or losing weight, like I am in the process of. Can you commit to that truth? That is true.
Yeah.
You are in the process of. So really, again, like, going back, reviewing affirmations, visualization, mental rehearsal, the list you were talking about.
Yeah. And also realizing that it's only a shift in your mind. And then once you realize I am in control of my life and my choices, everything changes, right? So it's your energy changes. And also it can be simple tools you implement each day to get you closer to where you want to be.
Yeah, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Think, act, and feel there.
Exactly.
There.
Yeah. And start noticing, right, that alignment between the heart and the brain, right? When we finally have to make some room at the table for the heart, right?
Yeah.
We've been pushing those feelings away. How about if they're equal and one informs the other?
That's right. So be congruent. That's part. Be congruent. Take back your power. These are just really practical things, consciously, subconsciously, that you can do
Yeah.
to bring in the new year.
Yeah, and what I'll finish on this idea of like just alignment, right? Can 2026 be all about alignment and you noticing how do I feel in this space? And if I'm not aligned, then I'm either creating a new space or I'm walking away from this one, right? And it's all about you feeling right in that moment.
You have a choice.
Yes, you have a choice. Step into your power.
Yes. Yes. So thank you so much, Andrada.
Thank you for
It's such an honor to have you and your expertise.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I love this work, and I look forward to talking more about transformation, right?
Awesome. Yes. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again on Tricks on Tap.